This case happened in the summer of 1943 at the front, where there were counter battles with the enemy. The Germans had a sniper, and he shot almost every day. It happened so that from the very morning the German began his torture over the Soviet soldiers, and especially got to the combat guard. These were the men who moved forward and kept watch over the enemy. The sniper's work began with the fact that in the morning he would shoot one of the soldiers in the stomach, so that the soldier did not die immediately, but howled in pain. The state of this was morally horrible for everyone. From the helplessness and impunity of the sniper, it was possible to go crazy. I was just in the reconnaissance, adjuster of the artillery regiment, and often moved forward to correct changes in enemy positions. Anyway, one day I, too, encountered sniper fire. The feeling was horrible and helpless. You could not move anywhere. You lay down in a low place and lay all day like a mouse in a hole. Even to stick your nose out was scary. At night I crawled back and reported that I knew approximately where our torturer and murderer was hiding. But the problem is that sniper does not shoot twice from the same place, so the price of my information was not high. But the commander still gave the order to move out at night with communication and discover the sniper's location at dawn, when he starts his work. In summer, nights are short. At 4 o'clock it is already light, so I and one more fighter, carefully equipped, dressed in camouflage, took means of communication, rudimentary means of camouflage, and moved out to the front even at midnight. They reached the observation point, which they had built and carefully camouflaged a week ago. We settled down and began to prepare. We covered our cloaks with earth, put camouflage on our helmets, and blended in with the terrain as best we could. We checked our binoculars and communications and began surveillance. Since dawn our work on searching for the sniper ambush began. I must admit that there were plenty of places for it, and we took turns to tears in our eyes, looking for the sniper's position, realizing the complexity and responsibility of our task. The morning passed without results, and in the afternoon from the German side there was a sound of a shot, and immediately a wounded fighter screamed. We did not see anything. I looked. I did not take my eyes off, but the enemy was obviously cunning and cared about his safety as well as we did. It's a good thing he didn't find us. I continued to watch, and by some miracle, with the animal instinct of a hunter, I caught the slow and extremely cautious movement of a small hillock. It moved diagonally, moving away slowly and imperceptibly, but unluckily it was directly perpendicular to our ambush. There was no time to think, or he would get away. The positions of the enemy had long been shot, and I reported the coordinates to the headquarters of the artillery regiment. In a minute they gave a firing salvo. I began to correct the fire, then they fired 9 more shells, then another, and somewhere from the 5th or 6th time they hit. I myself saw how the sniper's body, together with his rifle and ammunition, flew up. That was victory. The 76mm shell put an end to the life of the German sniper. Now he was destroyed. I can't tell you how it felt. Not many moments in life a person remembers, but that shell explosion I remember to this day. In response, the German cannonade and random shelling began, which soon ended. We did not risk to withdraw. It was necessary to carefully roll up from the position and camouflage everything, to carry away the equipment, so we sat till darkness. Leaving a position is probably more difficult than entering it. You have to be so organized that you can control the enemy by crawling backwards. Our commanders were delighted and presented us for awards, but as it often happened, during the retreat, the documents were lost somewhere in the papers. But it was not important. The main thing was that I still destroyed one, but the most necessary sniper, and saved my soldiers from death. I could not do otherwise, I just had to do it, and it all worked out. And ahead were long roads of war, wastes and offensives, crossings and bridgeheads. I personally destroyed the enemy, wounds and hospitals, and finally my personal painting on the wall of the Reichstag. Among the paintings of hundreds and thousands of my fellow soldiers and other Red Army fighters,